All right, so we are definitely here with the heels of San.Diego soccer, accompanied with Chiva. The great Ryan Young has rejoined us here for another episode of San.Diego Futbol Weekly. I'm going to turn this down before this does get taken down for copywriting, but for those not familiar with NWO, Hulk Hogan, the greatest guy of all time, everybody's hero, came over to WCW, and there was this mystery guy that's going to join Scott Hall and Kevin Nash in this new faction. Who's the third guy? Hulk Hogan comes in. He's going to save Macho Man Randy Savage, who's getting a beating. And guess what happens? Hulk Hogan, everybody's hero. Captain, just fun. He was in the Three Ninjas.
Yeah.
Leg drops. Randy Savage, heel turn. He's the bad guy. Worst of the worst. Creating then the greatest group, the NWO. So that's a little background for you, Chiba.
Okay.
I know Ryan is familiar with that, but
are you saying I should have dyed my beard black?
I mean, yeah. I mean, the next episode, it wasn't immediate, so next episode you got to come in, spray paint something on your shirt. And I mean, well, it was a week. It was a long weekend of San.Diego soccer. So we'll get into a couple of things, but I mean, overall, I just want to get your reaction of what happened. I know we saw you being very nice to people on Twitter and supportive of local soccer, being overall just you were championing the local soccer scene in all its iterations. Did anybody reach out to you? Did you get any phone calls at all, or just how's it been?
No phone calls. Quite a bit of text from people. I think mainly, two people that are also plugged into soccer reached out to me and said, I've heard the same thing. So that seems to be four people.
Double down on it. Literally double down on it. Okay.
But,
okay. Fair.
But I had a conversation with somebody and, just reiterating that, hey, this is not my feelings about Loyal. This is not my information. This is information I'm being told.
Yeah.
So, when I was replying to tweets, about people, I guess being probably a little upset, I totally understand it.
Yeah.
A lot of people have a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in Loyal, even before Loyal. I've had 3 years myself of kind of being deep in the weeds with them, but even since being, I guess, well, not right now, an ex-employee for over a year, I still support that club. I've said repeatedly that if MLS comes here, I would love Loyal to be very heavily involved, if not brought up.
Yeah.
So I think some of that gets lost, when we report, and I personally report that news on this podcast. So, I understand it's not going to make a lot of warm and fuzzies for maybe people at Loyal and the diehard supporters, but there's no animosity from me to the local soccer scene here. I think reporting that news was just, I think it's something that this soccer community of fans deserves to know.
Yeah. And
it doesn't seem to be something that was really being talked about. And, people can disagree that I brought it up when I did, but at the same time, if this is something that we're just not going to talk about, and then happens, and then, the bomb gets dropped.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably it, is just, I just felt the need to, this is what I'm hearing from people really connected, and something that I truly, really trust from the standpoint of those two sources. And when I report that, and then I have those two other people that come to me and say, the last person said verbatim, I'm literally hearing the same thing. So, I mean, but again, this isn't if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But
100%.
I haven't heard anybody that's been upset at what I shared. I haven't heard from them.
And has anybody reached out and said, no, you're wrong, even to the detail of, no, I'm hearing January, November, or just, no, this isn't happening? What do you, is there any refutal?
No, not really refutal. None at all. One of the additional sources told me they heard as early as May. So,
2 months, May,
yeah,
2023.
Yeah, 2023. Okay. So I didn't dig any deeper into that, because I think this is something that, I'm not looking to make a weekly update thing. I want to enjoy the soccer here. I want to, I don't want to take away any shine from anything. So, but no, I haven't. Nobody has come forth and said, "Hey, you're really way off base. You're not living in reality." And I think that just stems from I'm not emotionally driven to be right about this. I think I'm just sharing information that I'm hearing from people, and I do have a conversation with somebody, very connected within San.Diego here on Monday coming up that I'm really looking forward to, that I think that person, probably has a version of insight that I just wouldn't be able to have.
Okay. Whether
or not that conversation is going to, revolve around that, I'm not going to force that. So if it doesn't, it doesn't. But I'm very okay if I'm wrong here.
And that's the thing too. What I saw, I don't know what you saw, Chiva, but there was two different reactions to that clip. Obviously, there was a lot of information in there too that was fantastic. Check it out, San.Diego Futbol. It's going to be up there. But the reactions were, "Yay, MLS is coming. Yes, I agree." But then the second part of it doesn't involve Loyal. That's the part that people suddenly just turn completely. These are two mutually exclusive things that can potentially happen. MLS can come in and include Loyal. MLS can come in and not include Loyal.
Yep.
MLS cannot come in at all completely. But I think that's something that it's coming on the same type of the way that I'm feeling. And again, I also want Loyal to be the MLS representation. If not that name, just let's go. Let's promote everything that's been built here. Let's bring everybody up and bring everybody together. Everybody's happy. Everybody's a winner. But it feels like when the Chargers left, because there was a lot of talks of that same thing where like, well, we're hearing that Dean Spanos is not, looking to stay here in San Diego. But let's talk about the game and the coverage that happened this last weekend. And the Chargers won, the Chargers lost, and then it was just like in the back, and it just was never really addressed. So talking about the bomb dropping, right? That happened. Boom, the Chargers are leaving. And it's like, why are people surprised? Like, they shouldn't be surprised. This has been a thread this whole time. Like, it's been possible this whole time. And I think I'm just trying to look out for people who have put their blood, sweat, and tears in, out, on the pitch, everybody involved, that there is something that it might be coming your direction. And because I care about you, I want you to be prepared for it. Like, we're going to put down the dog, but hey, look, this is going to happen. You got 3 months with him, so have fun. Like, if that's what it is. Not comparing. Jeez. Just my Rolodex of people just went like, comparing us to a dying dog? What is wrong with you? No, it's not that. But, I mean, what do you think, Chivo?
I think it's just, it comes down to the people that are very involved with Loyal, that are very passionate about it, right? Where they're very anti someone new coming in and just taking over, because they don't. I think they know what the reality would be, right? That no one would pay attention to San.Diego Loyal if that happens. There would be a few amount of people that would still go to Loyal games, but the attention is going to be on that new MLS team. And whether it is a new MLS team, I personally would like to see Loyal moved up as well. I mean, I will be covering the team, for going on 4 years already?
Yeah.
So to see them be able to move up, and I mean, the relationships that we have with some people there, obviously you don't want to lose that. But if it's also a new team and it's a new opportunity for the podcast, for anyone like that's going to be involved, I mean, I also welcome it. Then the day it's going to be good for the city. And yeah, some people are not fans of MLS, but I don't see it as a negative thing.
So right now I'm looking to trade in my car because it died and it got revived. And before it dies again, I want to trade it in. And, just doing some research, and what it says is like, you want to spruce up the car before you go into the dealership when you're going to trade it in. Right. And so I feel like Loyal's been doing that for the past couple of months, years, where it's like they're trying to purdy themselves up, doll themselves up. Look, we're prepared. Look at us. We're ready for MLS. Just pick us up and choose us. And when they don't get chosen, if that's the case, at least we tried and did our best. And you know what? At least go with honor and dignity and respect. The biggest concern that they should be having in their mind right now is to win a championship. Right?
Yeah.
Right. And in that regard, there hasn't been a lot of talk out of the club that's not game related or too much MLS, real news. The last thing I heard was actually from Joe Corona, and he was like, "Yeah, I would love MLS to come in."
Yeah, but I mean, is Loyal even ready for MLS? Would you guys say?
If you copied paste right now and just threw some money at it,
if it's what they are right now, you threw some money on it. Are they ready for MLS?
In I guess
in what term?
in more direct question,
in how everything's handled, in how obviously you're gonna bring in new players if that happens. That's the soccer side of it. But how a lot of things are handled, like sometimes we don't hear about players leaving or stuff like that, like
just like minor league
well,
stuff.
I think
league
some
stuff
of that would change because MLS has much more league wide rules in terms of injury reporting and some of the things that I think you're kind of pointing at. I think to Tony's point, you have seen Loyal much more forward, much more diverse in their community outreach.
Yes,
which is fantastic.
And I was reading, every time.
And I was reading something the other day that was tied to your point of like, hey, are we just doing this to do it and to show that we're more involved? And I think no matter what, like there's still elements of like all good things, even if it is a marketing kind of strategic approach with what they're doing in the community, it's still making an impact. And I tip my hat to a lot of the work that Ricardo, Andrew, and Shannon McMillan are doing with the community initiatives that they're doing. Russ Thompson, especially with the
military stuff. It's
so great. You have seen that because when I was there the first 2 years, and I think also understanding that going through COVID was very hard on all sports teams because you were even seeing teams at MLB, NFL level that were laying off employees and
left and right. Yep.
I think when I look back to Loyal, they didn't lay anybody off. We got 20% cut in pay all around to help prevent anybody from being let go.
Yes.
So that's a kudos to Andrew Vasiliadis and many others that we were able to kind of like, I guess, tread water through that. So I think, after I left in year 2, the boost in the amount of people in the front office, especially on the marketing side, grew. And, in the community side grew. I think ticket sales is even bigger. So I think they've made the investment to be, I think what Andrew said, right? I want to be the best USL team. And I think if you would compare front office size and I think what they're doing, I think they're maxing out the potential there with the amount of people. Now, you would probably have to double the amount of staff if you went MLS. But obviously that is probably more investors, clearly more investors, all that stuff. So I don't know if it's really fair to like, I guess, gauge them like, hey, are they ready? Are they able to? Because I think some of that just will naturally happen a little bit. How like I think San.Diego Wave is operating where, hey, in year 1 they were kind of figuring out. Year 2 they've now grown their staff, and I think it does take 3-4 years to really kind of hit your stride once you start a team. And I think we're seeing that with Loyal. And, I think that's the unfortunate part of this is that no matter what, the MLS rain cloud has been hovering even since year 1. That's been a question since year 1.
Yeah.
And USL is very, very forceful on not being able to really even talk about that or respond to that. So I think that's why, we're not going to hear from Loyal in terms of, the stuff that we're talking about. And we might hear that, it's disappointing that we want to, maybe we're focusing on that, but I think it is a topic that clearly warrants discussion. And I ran into somebody at the Wave El Cajon community event that said they listened to that podcast and they really appreciate the discussion that's happening. So
thank you
to kind of, I guess, like wrap my thoughts on what your question was in terms of hearing responses from that. It's been nothing but positive. I'd be more than transparent if I heard people saying like, hey, Ryan, you're really being out of line, or man, that was really messed up. That
Are you
brought it up.
a disgruntled employee? Is that what it is? I mean, it's
no, I don't.
Do you see yourself as that? Do you think people think of you that way? And this is a personal, as in like the people that you don't obviously have to name names, or just the people who listen, because there were some, there was some backlash and some pushback from people online as far as like, no, like this can't be happening, or no, this is not going to happen, or if MLS happens, not Loyal, it's just. Do you sense any of that? Like people are just considering you, oh, well, he's just mad at the club, like mad at the people, like you got let go, you chose, just don't have to get into it, but just where you just.
No, I mean, I'm happy to go into that. Yeah. I mean, I think just answering your question, I don't feel that I'm a disgruntled employee.
Okay.
You know,
You don't look like one.
Yeah, like I said,
chilling.
I've had nothing but love for the people there and
Absolutely.
for what that team does, and you know, keeping in touch with some of the players and having coffee with some of the current players. It's like typically we don't really, if we talk about Loyal, it's like 5% of what our conversation is.
Interesting.
Yeah, when I left Loyal, that was during a process at the end of year 2 where, it was Jesse Beltran and I, and, Jesse Beltran, got let go at the end of year 2. And Travis Lamprecht came in, and I had conversations with Travis about what the marketing department was going to look like.
So did we.
I was very passionate, maybe, especially at the end of year 2 and working a lot and not really having a lot of breaks is like, I was pretty high strung. I was nearing burnout, and I really didn't get a comfort on my end of where things were going to head and what role I was going to play. And then, I really wanted to be the team photographer. That seemed to be, like the hot potato topic that nobody really could give me a straight answer. And then, I think that's when you have to look at writing on the wall and go like, you know what? Well, maybe if I'm not getting the answer, like maybe they just don't want me to be that person for them. So I said, hey, I'm probably going to step down then from my role, and had conversations about, like Travis said, hey, hey, we haven't worked together, so like why don't we give it a shot? And it's just not something at that point in time I wanted to do. We talked about a freelance situation in the 3 months after me leaving full time. Just didn't get a very comfortable sense of what that was really going to look like. So, I think it's worked out for them. They've built their team in a much different way than we operated initially. And, I saw Ben Nichols the other day. I saw Danny Miller the other day, and it was good to see them. And I champion everything they're doing because I think they're doing a great job with the resources they have. So.
And then that's something that's been a motif in a way, right? Quality and quantity. And you look at, again, the Wave, right? They have resources. Like I look at, it tells you more about a soccer club and the resources when they have a giant flag before pregame that they can wave in the center field, then with the crest. Like, all right, that's pretty cool. I know that costs a lot of money.
It does.
But it seems like it was very much mutual departure and then future endeavors. Good luck. And that's it.
Yeah. I mean, I think even for them, if you would ask Ricardo right now, like, hey, do you think, it was a good timing for both to separate? And I would venture to say he would probably say, yeah, because I don't think I fit where the club wanted to go with things, and and that sometimes happens. And I also wanted to pursue photography as a much bigger part of what I've been wanting to do for a while. And, luckily I've been able to do that for the last year and a half and have done it with the Soccers, thankfully, and have done it for the Wave, and actually started both of those endeavors doing things for free for both clubs. And it turned into some paid work that I'm very grateful for, and is sprinkled into, work with USD and some other clients here in San Diego. So yeah, I think it's worked out for both. But yeah, I don't feel I have any out for Loyal. I think I've been very consistent, even as a Loyal employee. I was, I was very hard and very I would say, like, sometimes I feel like my moral compass, tends to get twisted maybe with what I want the team to be. And I understand some things when it comes to business aren't going to be the way you hope they go. Cause I'm very pro fan, and I'm very pro, hey, if we're going to ask them for their money and their hard-earned money, I want to make sure that we're giving them something that's very worthwhile back. And my standards, I feel like, are sometimes a little more astronomical than, most sports organizations tend to be. So I think I'm also finding life for me sometimes is a better fit, working in more of a freelance or contract role than working for a team.
You're a free spirit.
A little bit.
Don't cage them. Yeah. As we have you cooped up in a garage, as close to south of the border as it gets. You're literally 2 exits away. Like literally, the only San Diego Loyal player that would be in this room almost made it to Mexico. Actually,
surprisingly,
yeah. I think he felt the presence. He felt the culture. He was like, something's off here.
Let me go to Vegas.
Turn. But yeah, so I mean,
We don't name drop here.
this whole MLS discussion, like it got people talking, it got people thinking, and until there's anything concrete, I think that's gonna be the case. Until then, like this isn't gonna be a will MLS to San Diego sort of just show or series that we're doing. Like it's an expose of soccer in San Diego and things that are happening, and I think with pertinent and relevant information that is coming from the people that are there, right? Like if I don't see CBS 8, I don't see KUS, not name dropping, KUSI, aside from Chase Isidro, shout out, that guy's working. But even then, it's hard for him to get something on the air because it's KUSI. So it just is.
No, I have a friend who's a reporter there and says similar things. So
Yeah,
but I think you're right. Like local media is going to react to something, especially like I've always heard TV media is going to react once it's in print. So if it's in print, it's much easier to do a story because they already have the facts and it's easier to write everything and write the time, the commitment for all that stuff. So I agree.
I mean, we got to do our part though, and so if that means pissing some people off, a heel turn, let it be. But
And I think we only say this because we're always out there and we see who's showing up and who's not. So that's the reason why we always point those things out, right?
it's interesting that, and again, just jumping into the kind of like the next big part is like this Snapdragon in general. This past weekend is on Monday. We'll work backwards, right? There was the announcement for Manchester United and Wrexham playing at Snapdragon. You had what was his name? The Wato? Your legend.
Andy Cole?
Sure. Joe Cole is the real bro Cole. And then you had Rob McElhenney, who obviously is a co-chairman of Wrexham, and then Landon Donovan, who were discussing just, I guess, soccer culture / promoting this game that's going to happen at Snapdragon. But you had all the local media there, all of them, like they were all there.
JD Wicker from San Diego State was there.
Yeah, photo opping. He was getting in there. But I mean, you contrast that with the amount of people that were out there for a soccer event. If you're there covering a soccer event, you might as well cover all of it and not just pick and choose, because the day before on Sunday, you were there at the America Cholos game, the Aguila Tour. Not an official game, not the superstars that you are used to seeing on the field, because obviously they're probably with their national teams.
Some of them were still there.
Some of them were still there, but it's a game that's for fun. Even Piojo Herrera, the manager for Cholo, said like, yeah, we're just here to have a good time. It's a great stadium. It's beautiful. Like we love it here. And Morvilla asked, is it something you can see MLS coming? Why not?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
This is fantastic. Like why wouldn't you want to do this?
Who's coached a World Cup, has said that MLS would be great here. I mean, can you really argue to that? The guy knows his shit.
How many people were there covering it from San Diego?
Me?
You? 100? Yeah, thank you.
I saw a guy holding an
work.
NBC, but also Telemundo microphone.
Yep, they've double dipped. I've actually asked questions
that's
on behalf
about
of
it.
them. Okay.
I saw a lot of Fox Deportes, but they're from TJ. A lot of like TJ media for sure. I mean, Ivan also.
Tom Krasovic from the UT there? I know he's a
was
soccer
not- he was
guy.
not- he was
Soccer
not
guy.
there.
Total soccer
there.
guy.
Wasn't there.
I don't think, unless there was a way to incorporate a Chargers segment.
Or fucking
into
Jerickson
that.
Profar in the story of Barcenas signing or something like that.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
I think that, like, I'm not defending the local media for not covering that at all, but I think they just look at that and they go, I don't know how to put a local spin onto that makes it interesting, that's going to get clicks. Like, I think that, and like, they don't have, I don't think the energy to put the effort in. But I know you guys mentioned at the Wave game, there didn't seem to be a ton of local media.
There wasn't
for
either.
what you said.
And I mean, you question it, right? It's almost 32,000 people at Snapdragon.
We had our buddies. Let's not forget about them, right? Like our friends, and we're talking about big bucks media here. East Village Times was there. The SDSU guy that also works for East Village was there. You had, I'm considering a more local. This dude does Ford.
He's everywhere.
There is
He's there, but
that
he
hustle.
technically works for the team there.
Technically worked for the team, yes, but guess what? This dude crosses
Every day.
for 4 hours on the border.
On the
For-
trolley.
on the trolley, does not drive there.
Yeah.
For the chance to do PA in Spanish for a couple lines, still get some good sound because he's
He
working,
gets pregame and postgame. That's it.
and throws it up for
Wow.
AS Deportivo and does his write-ups, and that's the hustle. That's how much this means to people that are seeing opportunity on this side. That's a dude that sees, wait, why aren't people covering this? And why aren't people paying attention? People would give anything to do that. I did the joke of how much we would have paid for something at Snapdragon for food, covering it. And it was 10 times more for one item than what I actually got paid for doing 2 games of commentary in Estadio Caliente.
That is true.
I stood in line with the security guards.
I made a lot more money at the
Here's your-
casino in less time.
Yeah, here's your 200 pesos.
invested,
I
yeah.
was like, yeah, that's right. Like, fuck, I used to live here. Like that 200 pesos is your, here you
big
go, go
wage.
feed your
Yeah.
5 kids. Not saying Amor has 5 kids, but again, if the need and the desire is there for people to come in and cover this sport, there has to be somebody who's going to be willing to listen. And that we have been, witnesses to people wanting to listen. And if it's a bigger opportunity for us to just have these discussions and have this be that, then sure. Because again, other than Darren Smith, I don't know anybody who talks about soccer on their radio show, their local show. Woods and Ben love them,
Maybe
but
when it's
again,
the World Cup and
they
they
went
mention it.
they went to the Loyal game and they had 2 minutes to talk about it before doing their morning zoo quiz game for the listeners. Like,
Yeah, and I think this is where I'll give kudos to Darren Smith over Ben and Woods. It's like Darren has been consistently
yeah,
doing local soccer coverage, even probably when it didn't warrant the stage that he has for it. Whereas I think, Ben and Woods, hey, again, I'm not going to discredit anybody coming and doing anything, but it's like, it feels a little bit more like flavor of the week to them.
Yeah.
And kind of like this fun, like, oh yeah, we were with the locals. It was crazy. Oh my God, people are banging drums. And it's like, okay, cool. But like, are you going to be, like we said earlier, it's like, are you going to be back here next week?
yeah,
And the week after that, and the week after that. And I think that's where, like you guys said, I think you pointed out being in the Wave press conference room afterwards, you were looking around, you were like, oh man, it doesn't seem as packed as it used to be, which is like, I feel like this went so under the radar because maybe 917 last year when they broke, the overall record for largest attendance in NWSL history. But for a team that gets 30,854 fans to their home opener with not a huge runway, I think they maybe had 5 weeks of promoting this game because the NWSL schedule didn't come out.
yeah. It
until
got
then.
dicey. Yeah, I remember that.
But that is incredible. And I went to the top row in the first half during Amir Ali's goal and seeing all the little kids, because I felt like this, I asked somebody else, I was like, man, it didn't feel like there were as many kids at this game as there were last year. But I think they were all more up top. So I was up top and I saw all these little girls and like they went nuts when Amir scored.
Yeah.
And that to me, I think, when we talk about, again, I'm going to say MLS, but like, this is why, because if you see 30,854 fans for San Diego Wave, you see Club America and Cholos get the crowd they do. Of course, MLS is going to be looking at that going, imagine if we came here.
Oh man, and that's kind of when I just felt as soon as I walked into Snapdragon, it's a completely different environment than what Wave put out. But it's just, I mean, yeah, it felt like a Mexican party, and that's as best as I can describe it. But it's one of the most popular teams in Mexico, and then Cholos, who's right across the border, right? A lot of people were surprised that there were more America fans there. I wasn't. I mean, he wouldn't be surprised either. And the thing is, there are a lot of people that will go support America because they can't go support them in Mexico because of immigration status or anything like that. They just can't do it. But the environment that they had, the supporter section looked amazing, just packed from top to bottom, everyone singing, knowing the songs. And that's, years obviously in the making with America and the supporter section, and I'm not saying anything like MLS can be like that in the first day here, but the possibility that could happen here in San Diego, it blew my mind. I said, wow, we could literally have that here every weekend with Wave, Loyal, and an MLS team, or Wave, Loyal in MLS. Like, we could literally have this at Snapdragon every weekend. So it's insane. It's insane what could happen.
The Snapdragon.
That's Snapdragon. That's their TIFO.
That looks great. That's actually something that I told Wade, because it seems to be a little bit of an issue when they,
I heard
sources
say that it was meant to do that with this TIFO as it created the illusion of a wave. You could kind of see it, but I know that was also the case that it didn't go as well.
I don't like it.
Yeah,
it looked messy.
It didn't go all the way up, and that's 2 years in a row, and that's nothing against any of the supporters, because I think that's more of a stadium. Snapdragon Stadium Ops thing, but yeah.
I hate that I'm giving America so much like credit and just attention, but like
they were here, man.
Look,
like,
this is us. This is us at a Charger game. This is us tailgating. We don't have this anymore.
Yeah.
I don't see people driving from Arizona, driving from Orange County, driving from hours away to go to a Loyal game. I see them driving through San Diego to go to a Cholos game.
That is true. Yeah.
And, it's not like all these people are from San Diego. 100%. If you live anywhere in the vicinity, it's either you choose the game that they played at BMO or San Diego.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to go visit my paisanos because it's right there at the border anyway. These are real conversations. Like, I was having a conversation with Craig Elston about the Sockers moving up to Oceanside, how that's going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
And so on one part, I'm really curious to see what brand of Mexicans lives in Oceanside as far as the soccer community, right? I want to see that. I don't know if there's a lot of indoor soccer happening up there for right now, but there is a large contingency. And something that I told Craig was like, it's going to be hard because a lot of the people there, and it's very true, a large part, because including family, let's put that, are undocumented. So they don't want to come south. They don't want to come anywhere near the Midway. Why? Because the closer you get to the border, the more Border Patrol agents you might see. And that's just a reality. And then I took a step back. I'm like, am I being hyperbolic? No, that's 100% the truth.
It's the reality.
So now you're going to have this option to see indoor soccer in Oceanside. You have a good contingency from the South Bay, Central San Diego that will go, they'll still go to Oceanside. But that's something that is a reality, is that you still have so much to tap into. And when you have the culture, the love for a sport, a love for a team like people have for America, people have for Cholos, and they're coming to your backyard, sometimes you're willing to risk it. It sounds bad, but I know somebody who was taking their stepson over into this game because they're ingraining him into being an America fan, as much as I hate it. But the question from the mom and wife was like, maybe I should go with him because they're going to get, I know how he gets at games and it's America and he loves America. He might get a little too drunk and this and this and that. And it might get into a fight. It might this, like that worries part of it. Like it's like, you don't know. It might be a FUBAR situation where everything FUBAR, that was a new one for this week. Thesaurus. It can be a situation where it's like, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to maybe run away from some trolley cops because we didn't pay for our ticket and have a great time with the father and son. Like, this is what this is. And this is, obviously, you can't do it at Torero. You can do it at Wave, and it's a little bit different, but this is all possible. And we saw an example of what San Diego soccer can be at its fullest potential this weekend. In every iteration, you have the women's game, best of the best. You have a America Liga MX game with hardcore fans, and then you have a great announcement the day after, all in the same stadium.
And we're gonna see a completely different environment with Man U and Wrexham. Like, it's gonna be completely different, but it's still it's most likely going to be a sellout.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see what happens then and what it looks like.
And I heard from Man U supporter, the support group here. I think he's one of the heads, but he was talking to Andy Cole and Rob. I forget the last name of the Wrexham guy.
McElhenney.
There you go.
It's called Mac.
But he was,
I call him not Ryan Reynolds.
there you go. But he was so
Okay.
thankful for them having the game in San Diego because he was going, right, of all the places you could have this game, to have it in San Diego. And he's like, right, I've been a Man U supporter. We go to the bars, we wake up early. And he goes, I have to keep telling myself that this game is happening here in San Diego. And I think you're right. Like it was, I think it was also cool, you know, like some people online were wondering, hey, why is Landon Donovan a part of this? But it's like, you know, listening to Landon and I think make a great point, and somebody else raised this question. It's like he has committed so much time in this region to build up soccer and to give it a spotlight and to talk about the community aspect of what he's seen develop these last 6 years, especially. And I think that just shows that, and you have this like bubble, and it's I think it's already bursted, but I think people are now starting to, I think, even across the pond go, hey, you know what? I think San Diego's a pretty awesome market because not only are we going to sell the place out, but you have this, right, international appeal for an international friendly. Yeah. You know, because people from across the border are going to probably come up to this game as well. 100%. I don't know how many Man U fans are across the border, but I'm sure there's plenty.
I'll tell you this. Chicharito Hernandez.
Yeah.
That's all of Mexico.
I think you were pulling up the ticket prices.
Oh yeah, let me.
I saw it was like what 65.
I'll tell you
nosebleeds?
this: maybe some people from TJ won't come up after seeing those prices. Though.
$820 for all those platinum seats.
That is platinum seats, yeah.
But yeah, 165 now.
65, the cheapest. That's still pretty pricey, but I mean,
this just makes me go. San Diego State, could we have not built this to be like 40,000, 45,000?
Yeah, no, it was. That's
I'm not going to get on that.
See, now you're pissing off a whole different set of people, and the winners of Soccer City too, and no, but you're right. Like that's why Landon was there, and it kind of goes into the fact that it seems like they are there. They're keeping up. They're being relevant. I didn't see a wave person in that photo shoot.
Oh,
yes,
I was there.
You were there, Ryan.
Ryan. Like,
yes,
teacher,
call
I
on
have the
Ryan.
answer.
Yeah, I mean, Jill Ellis was at the press conference.
Yes,
she was not at the photo ops afterward. You know, that happens like 45 minutes after the press conference started. I don't know all the details about why she wasn't there, so I'm not going to speculate on that at all. But you know, we did get a photo, with them holding up Wave jerseys. Obviously, this one circulated quite far and well deserved, and that is cool. No matter, it's like 100%. to see a Loyal kit with a Man U kit, and now Wrexham obviously ascending to where they have. That's awesome. That's a great photo to see, and that was neat to be 10 feet from that and really understand where soccer is elevated here. So I think that if I'm still at Loyal, I'm sure inside that got a ton of people pumped.
100%. Same with Blue Peak.
The partners is especially.
Hey,
so.
I will give that to Loyal. They're very kind to their partners, and sometimes to a fault, but they are very kind to their partners. And I have to imagine that seeing Blue Peak next to Manchester United kit, and why not another brand like TikTok? Sure, it has to be good. But I mean, overall, it's like this is all here, and I don't know, like what's people are going to be hurt if it's not Loyal. I just know it.
He had to go back
sure.
there. He had to go back there.
Because he feels bad. He's a teddy bear and he cares about people.
I do. And I hope it's not the case. Like I'm always wanting people happy, but
I think this is showing why, and knowing the MLS machine and what it has done. I think they're seeing it, and it's like, right, San Diego is showing it can be done without Loyal. Yeah. Again, I'm not saying that I want that to happen.
Yes.
I really hope, and you would have to think that the relationships they've built up within the city, within the community, with Landon having the connections he does, you hope that isn't the case where it doesn't happen without them. So I think some of these steps in showing, especially this, and me maybe looking outside of things and analyzing why this involvement happened, it's going like, oh, this feels very strategic that Landon would be a part of this press conference, and seeing that the power of that, photo op of the jersey. So do you guys want to talk a little bit about that? I know you guys talked with Alan about the 1-0 loss, but I think I watched that game and I was getting very 2020 vibes of 1-0 games.
Yeah.
I think I think a theme we've talked about is, and something I've heard you say, Chiva, is I want to see the balls to try something different. And I will give credit. The Loyal was down Ebby. Loyal was down Charlie. I think both to injuries right there.
Yeah.
Ebby we know about. Charlie left the previous game with an injury.
Didn't play.
Didn't seem to probably be game fit for this one. And then not having Kyle Adams. And I think they did try some things. Collier starting up top with Evan Conway. We saw Colin Martin play extended minutes with Joe Corona in the midfield. We saw Elijah Martin back in the lineup.
Yes.
But what about this 11 did you like or not like?
I mean, you stick to the formation that you're implementing, right? But then that just means you're expecting Elijah Martin back in the starting lineup to play a whole new different role. And we had him on the podcast, and he's told us, like, I'm a player that can play anywhere. Like, where you need me to play, I'm going to play, right? And he's going to do it well. And he did. But
I thought he struggled a little bit. I feel like when Sacramento forced him to his left in this game, he did struggle. What I loved was the effort.
And then goes that you want to use him as a right wing back, and now you're throwing him as a center back, right?
It's mixed signals.
Yeah. So instead of maybe going to a 4-back line and say, okay, we're going to have to adjust, and I'm going to have to try something different because of this players that got hurt, this player that I don't have available. But no, instead you try and you don't adapt to the situation in a way. And I can see if you're comfortable with the formation that you want and you want to implement what you know and what you're used to. But I feel like maybe you could have tried something different.
In a way to almost undo everything we've tried here and humanize the athlete. Let me dehumanize him a little bit. It seems like this is very fantasy football in a sense where you have your starting whatever that's out. You need this player in the game. Apparently those don't bite, according to Alan.
Yeah,
we have a friend.
Yeah, we do. But essentially, you kind of have the player that's projected to score the most points in your fantasy lineup, and you're like, you did well last game. You're in. Obviously, you have Ebby out. You have Charlie out. But it's like, all right, well, where's the cohesion? What was the plan with the players that you started with? Did you just hope that the midfield of Guido, Colin, and Joe worked a little bit better? And in theory, it should, right? Three very high quality players. Am I saying I know more than the coaching staff? Absolutely not. That there probably was a plan, and there probably was a little bit of, we need to figure something out because some of our best players are out. Ebby being out just totally throws the plan that they had for that defensive line out the window. We knew Kyle was going to be out. Jackson was going to slide in there. We knew that Elijah was probably going to also get some minutes. Sure. But were they planning on Ebby, not the solid rock, not being there? No, because then that right side is now discombobulated because Colin, Elijah, and Ebby in the LAFC game, and every time I saw him, that triangle was deadly. The only reason that they got beat was because they faced elite speed against LAFC, like world-class speed. And even then, it was pretty close. Ebby was pretty good on the ball. Ebby was doing very well on that side and helping each other out and moving the play forward. But you lose that, you got to patch it. It's a boat that has a hole.
And to add to that, it's just you kind of know you're not going to have Ebby already at the start of the week, right? You're kind of aware, like, okay, we're probably not going to have Ebby for this week. Okay, let's start training with the starting line that we're going to have. But even 4 or 5 days, it's not enough at the same time. So hopefully by the time you play Phoenix, you're like, okay, you know what? We already had 2 weeks to figure it out. Hopefully we're able to perform better and get at least a point out there.
A tie. They could have tied this game.
They could have.
They played a really good team. Sacramento's a good team.
At home, they are.
At home, they are a really good team. This team made it to the Open Cup final. They beat MLS teams left and right. Koke played out of his mind.
They could have lost. Like,
incredible.
By more as well.
Who again, a little gripe, but like Joe Corona as player of the match, like
No.
For this game.
For this game, yeah.
No.
Loyal announced him as player of the match. Yeah.
me, but man of the match. So man of the match voting, which
that's voted on by fans. So 20
by fans.
votes.
But who puts the
so
players
20
out there?
vote. I did the math. It
Cookie
was
is not even
13,
listed.
Not even listed from the team. But let's turn around now and move up and like have montages of the warranted montages of the save. 100% saves of the year perhaps, but
I mean, watching that game, Joe Corona is not. He's not man of the match.
yeah. And I mean, again,
And I'm
this
someone that
is-
hates Ben on the match when you lose, but I get it. You have to announce.
Yeah,
whatever.
for Palomar Health,
Yeah.
you have to announce it. But I would agree. Like, how is Koke not one of the 3 people that you list?
Yeah, exactly. Like, and maybe it's just like, hey, we got to give another guy a chance, but that's not how this works. It's sports, it's a business. Like it's cutthroat. So let's be cutthroat in that sense. Let's cut it down to this. I don't know.
Just thinking from from a social media chair, I would think too. Like, hey, what's my silver lining in this? The Koke saves.
Yeah, and they've utilized them very well. The videos that came out were excellent, and the threads here is exactly what you would hope would be happening. This save is that's great. Like just everything about it and the angles of it, and again, it's here. But let's
Now,
utilize it.
question for you guys, and I know this might have been out of necessity, but I feel as I've watched Loyal this last year, Elijah and Nick Moon seem to have some chemistry.
yeah.
I thought on this game, and I understand maybe the lineup and who is available dictated this, but I just feel sometimes I feel like Nick Moon's more dangerous on the left side. And maybe this is just me remembering some specific games, and I don't know what you could do with if you had to move Bodley to the right side, but I feel like I didn't see this chemistry with Elijah and Bodley on the left, and then I feel like Nick Moon wasn't as dangerous as sometimes I feel like he is, and I don't know if that was to try and allow, Guido to be, have more room to roam, because watching what Nick Moon does here, like, maybe that doesn't mesh well with Guido on the left side, but I'm just curious when we kind of hammer down on this 11, like if you have these 11 players that they use, would you have put somebody in a different spot? Or do you think this was just, hey, this is where we're going to put them in the best position and we can't really do anything?
My thing is, in the first game, you start Elijah on the right side, and then you take him out, and then you place Bodley on the left side because you want a left-footed player. But essentially, if you want to go with that, just switch Bodley on the right because you still have that left-footed. You can cut in with his left, but you still keep Nick Moon, who performs better on the left, because then he can do stuff like that.
And then you're asking Elijah to, again, move up the field where he was playing on the right as well. And he knows how to play a defensive role on the right. But if you just say, hey, I need you for this game to come back a little bit, we're going to put Bodley on your side. We'll see how this works. And again, you see it here with Nick Moon. You know what Nick Moon's going to do. Yeah. It's the Arjun Robin. You know Arjun Robin? We have some videos to watch. But essentially, it's Mr. Cut to the left guy.
Yeah.
Like he
cuts, curler, always bangs
it's
it in.
the exact same move. You know what he's going to do. It's his one move, and
you
he
can't
gets
stop
you
it.
every time.
You can't stop it.
Why couldn't Loyal seem to get Guido in space? And why did it seem like Collier couldn't be the Collier we've seen these first 2 games, where he also operated well in space?
I also think that they might have had a little bit more footage now on Collier. I think that we have
I think
seen
after the last game,
we have
yeah.
seen what he can do, especially coming down in the second half. Then you deploy him in the first, and you're kind of like, okay, cool. This is what we're going to get. We know how to neutralize this in the second half. He needs a little bit more space, some tired legs, and he's going to attack because you don't expect this giraffe of a human being to come over and not run like Phillip Rivers did at some point. See, I'm doing the UT thing.
Yeah.
I'm no better.
Don't do that.
No better.
So would you have started Toomey in the spot of Collier to start the game?
I might have started Perez. I saw him on the bench, right? I think he was listed on the bench in that starting lineup. So if he had a game like he did in the first game of the season, why wouldn't you give him minutes again? Maybe he wasn't 100%. I don't know, but like electrifying player, like good with his feet, and
I don't know, man. I don't know if like players being 100% is really the case. I mean, we talked about it a little bit yesterday, right? We saw Ebi Akon after the last home match, which I guess now turns into a ACL injury. Could have been, I don't know, bruised, could have been torn. I don't know why it's just labeled as the injury to give everybody hope that maybe he comes back at the end of the season.
Here's my only 2 cents on that. I've never seen Loyal wear T-shirts like they did.
Yeah.
And they made a point, right, to capture that and share that. So to me, those T-shirts confirm this is probably a torn ACL.
Yeah.
And he's out for the year. Because if it's not, I don't like a sprained ACL.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I hope for Ebi's sake he's
100%.
available because he's shown
Phenomenal.
to be a very impactful player for them, and he's somebody that we've heard has been wanting to be part of the club since year 2.
So that's the heart. That's what gets you. Like
So-
he's been wanting to play so badly.
So I'm curious to if we hear any more about that, but I would agree. I think from what tea leaves we can read from this is Ebi's probably not going to be available for the rest of this season.
Yeah, 100%. And not to say that this is the definite cause. And again, we mentioned it, right? Last time we saw him, he went down hard. He didn't go up into the locker room immediately. He stayed on the bench. We've seen players before, both Wave and away teams also have players go to the locker room immediately after a serious injury. I didn't think it was a serious injury when I saw him because I just saw him get the good old trainer ice pack to the knee.
Yeah.
He was walking in his own power. Nobody was around him, and he walked up the hill. Not saying that aggravated anything. It looked serious as soon as it happened. It was bad, but at least give the guy a push, give a guy a hand, give him some crutches so he doesn't put so much, weight on
That's
that
a
leg.
steep hill. We've all done that hill.
They're athletes, 100%. They're athletes. We're not athletes. It's a steep hill, but like,
I mean, that I've heard every single player, especially visiting team players, say like, "What the hell's with this hill?"
Yeah.
So I would agree. You would hope you would hope there would be some
Little
sort of
cart or
transportation.
something,
Yeah.
like-
I do know typically from being around a lot of athletic trainers and sports enough in different environments that they'll do a stability test on that knee.
yeah,
Typically right away to understand
it's this, and then they push.
yeah
it in,
what
push it
they're doing.
outside.
So
Yeah.
so maybe he passed that, but I think there is probably you're hitting on a point of player safety. What kind of resources are there?
Yeah.
I know Paulina, their head athletic trainer, very much cares very deeply about players. I do think there's probably a little bit of difference from the level of care that you see NWSL teams have,
Yeah.
especially what we've seen with Wave compared to maybe some of those resources that Loyal has to them. I think also the disadvantage is that, you could take him to a tent, but like to get him on, an athletic table, you got to take him up that hill, then back
Yeah.
down those stairs
Yeah.
and all this stuff. So you're right. Like I don't know what the answer is to that, but it does suck to see Ebi suffer this injury.
100%. And I remember thinking back to Korniak getting an injury too at Torero. They had the Kaiser Permanente tent, which was in front of that supporter section in 109. And so in order to get from there to the hill or to the other side, to the west end, to get up there, you have to go. There's no space for a cart. You have to go through it was when Abby Dahlkemper got injured.
Oh shoot!
Yeah.
I had to go to the hospital.
Yeah. And so like they had to get the vehicle in a position to where you just couldn't play the game. You just couldn't play the game, and you had to stop, and it's inconvenient. It's all the way in the back. And I mean, even with Wave, the limitations of the stadium as well has a lot to do with it. But I mean, I don't know. Poor guy. I would have carried him. No, he's hard.
From what you guys have watched, do you feel like there's a difference in a reaction to injuries watching USL Championship games versus NWSL games?
Go for it.
I think based on what we saw in the last game for Wave, right? I mean, who was it? Was it Kylie Real? McNabb?
No, McNabb.
McNabb, yeah.
Got like a head injury, and I mean, it took almost 5 to 8 minutes. They added 8 minutes in
And
the first
8
half.
minutes. People were
Just
shocked
stop
in the
the
stadium.
game.
Yeah.
Just stop
and,
it.
and the stadium was quiet, right? And it's, I mean, head injuries are no joke, right? And we see it on all levels
Fuck,
that you
dude.
want to take care of.
We
it,
saw
but-
UPSL game that we did commentary before the Wave game. We saw our first ankle break on the field. We heard it, the screams, everything, and everything
Like
just
crying,
stops.
like
Like,
you could
fuck,
hear it
dude.
from
Like,
the player,
you
but-
hate that. Like, that's the worst part of this business, but you have to give it that respect. And I think it has to do too with like the factor of like sometimes, and I don't know if people would come after us for this, but like dudes are told rub some dirt on it and let's go. Stop being a crybaby. Like let's go.
It's the sad reality
it.
of it.
We see it in other sports where it's like, yeah, like it's the machine. Like, oh, this guy's paralyzed. Well, got a game to play. Thinking of what happened with Hamlin over with the Buffalo Bills, right? Like that's a situation where, oh shit, we saw it with Christian Eriksen. Like, oh fuck, like they actually told. I was having breakfast and I was shocked and almost like in tears of the shock that I was when I was watching that, and they were thinking of starting the game up again. And it's like, no, like, what are we doing? This is dumb. Like, this goes beyond sports at all at this point. And so do you really want to treat everything like that? No, but there should be protocols for something to not be aggravated, for not to be escalated. And it's okay to take time in this modern soccer. Yeah. 10 minutes extra time is not anything, out of the ordinary. Like in indoor soccer, anytime the ball stops, the clock stops. All right, that's fine. Let's go. Like it's you still get to play your 15-minute quarters. You still get to play your 45 minutes plus whatever added time for injury time. There's no more real time wasting. That kind of gets eliminated. But I mean, it's a multifaceted issue that I am nowhere near qualified to try to solve.
Yeah, I mean, I know for Wave they have Kaiser Permanente. They have a team doctor at the match, and not just like I'm at the match because we're sponsored by Kaiser Permanente. And I'm here just for the role. It's like, no, they're there to like if something real serious happens, like they're ready, to act.
Yeah,
I know in my first iteration with Loyal, there like they had team doctors there, but it was like a Rady Children's like pediatric doctor, which like again knows way more than I would about anything.
Yeah.
But like I don't, I know at least I remember some guys would say like, yeah, but like I'm a professional athlete, I'm an adult. Like I don't know how much that like transfers over. So I think from a USL perspective, it'd be great if the league I think stepped in and provided their own independent resources to be like, hey, we're gonna have our own independent physician there in case something major happens. And I would say for the USL championship level, athletic trainers, like I even know this with Wave, I think they travel to athletic trainers, but they don't travel their rehab person.
okay.
So like the budgets constrain the ability. So like, God forbid a Damar Hamlin thing ever happened. And it's like you have, for most of these USL championship teams, you have one trainer that travels with them. And I just think from a league perspective, you have to step in and provide a resource that can really, like if I'm a head athletic trainer and I see what happens to Ebby, and my head's not only focused on that, but my head's also focused on maybe a player that went out before that my coach is wanting me to, like figure out what's happening, or I'm worried about, again, what's happening on the pitch. Like, I have somebody that I know is a trained person in sports medicine that can say, hey, you know what? I have your player and I'm going to let you know my update, but I want to perform this test on him to make sure. And maybe I can do that field side, and out of caution. Hey, let's make sure he doesn't go up the hill walking up. Even if Ebby was refusing, saying, I'm fine, I'm fine, which could have happened. So, there's a lot involved, but I think I also want to alleviate, some of the pressure that's probably on somebody like Paulina for Loyal, because, especially after a game, it's like she's making sure these guys are getting their protein shakes or maybe she has to be there to make sure guys get extra runs in that need to get runs in. And then, oh yeah, Evie's over there, but last time he talked to me, he told me he was fine. So
Yeah.
I think from a league perspective,
like
they
that.
need to provide more resources, because I know a lot of these teams, and I think Loyal's probably a team on the higher end of budget and resources that they give to soccer ops. But that's not even enough. I know, a lot of these teams are relying on interns that are studying sports medicine at college to be those extra people. And I just think it's unfair to like put the pressure on all those people to be, perfect. But you're right. I think there's a discrepancy. I think the women's game is getting a little bit better. I think they're also, as we were talking too, their platforms and social influence is a lot higher. So if
you're gonna get called out.
Yeah, if Alex Morgan is upset with the level of care, and she takes to Twitter, not saying she has done this, but like that's gonna make
That's 10 million people that are gonna
that's gonna make a lot of noise. Whereas I think some of these guys, and I think we've all faced that. When we go to a doctor, we want to trust that they know what they're doing. So,
God, I hope so.
yeah. So I think this is it's a really tough topic, but I think you see the Soccers, they have their deal with Olympus and Marie.
Yes.
So I know after games, they spend a lot of time there, and I think having a facility that your teams can go to and having more of that consistent care and consistent tests of check-ins to determine, hey, like last time you did this test, you scored on this, and we're noticing that your, range of mobility is very down, and we're, concerned about this knee injury that might happen because of this. Like, again, I'm speaking in tongues a little bit, but I know they do these tests preseason. I don't know, from a injury prevention and level of care, I don't know what the access and resources are for a lot of these teams to do it continuous throughout the season instead of just, hey, after the season's over, we're going to give you an outro physical.
Yeah.
So
it's something, again, that doesn't really get talked about. Like it's that inside baseball perspective where these are the things that are happening day to day, right? Like it's easy for us to just kind of be like, well, just hire another guy, another doctor. But like there's more that goes into that, and the efforts that are already happening already there, especially at the USL level, are Herculean on multiple levels. And it'd be weird if that was the only thing that didn't necessarily fall in line along with the rest of the club. Everybody's stretched thin, so of course Paulina's going to have 10 million jobs to do, especially at game day, and we've seen her too. Like if you ever see a player go down on the field for San.Diego Loyal away and home, more than likely you see somebody giving attention. That's Paulina. Like she's been there.
See how she's doing.
Yeah,
Paulina
100%.
for Wave, it's Bailey Torres.
Okay.
And I think she clocks probably the fastest 40 of getting to a player that I've ever seen.
I would love a athletic trainer combine.
She
Oh
would.
my god!
I know Bailey.
It's
for Wave
hilarious
would
because
all
at
be
the
all about it.
UPSL game we were at, I think they were going into to start second half, and the side ref was walking, and you said, let's see how fast his 40 is, and you were 1, 2, I think you got all the way to 30 or 40 seconds.
No, I'm down for that. Like, we should host it for charity. But I mean, yeah, it's a lot of. It takes a village. It really takes a village. Some villages are bigger than others. Some villages become cities. Some villages think they're cities, but are just a hamlet. Some people see and have cities, and they think they're the hamlet. And we're just a small town. That's San.Diego.
But I think the only other person I can shout out for Wave that I think is intricately involved in making sure players, especially in training, are like sticking to the game plan is Buddy. He's the analytics guy at Wave, and I would say him and Casey are just in lockstep about how long this session is going, how long this specific drill is going for. And he has his timer and he's going, hey, 5 minutes. And guess what? When that 5 minutes ends, that drill ends.
Yeah.
And it's not like, oh, hey, let's just run one more time. And he's going like, no, like this ends. And, after training of seeing a specific player and being like, hey, no extras for these 4 players because you've already maxed, and they're very quick on some of their sessions. Like I've been at a session and it was 50 minutes long.
Oh, sure.
And I'm going, dang, this is, like I selfishly for
made
visual,
all the way over here for this.
no, like selfishly for visuals, I'm like, man, I would love to, like, I hope they do extras. I hope they do shooting and all this stuff. And it's just like, no extras. Like, hey, we're building up for a game. They take a lot of Wednesdays off if they only have a 1 game week.
Yes.
So they'll come, right? They'll rehab Monday. They'll do a training session Tuesday. Wednesday's off. Thursday will kind of be a lighter session. Friday they'll do some small-sided set piece stuff, and then Saturday's a game. But it's very deliberate, and I know Loyal to a certain extent has done that. Nate definitely believes in that.
Yeah.
Again, I think the resources are very different in terms of probably attracting somebody with the background Buddy on Wave has, who's lived this and has gone to school for it, and also, I know like Stats Inc., who tracks stuff, I remember for Loyal, it's like we got some they got some hand-me-down stuff at a cheaper cost, and like sometimes that system failed them. So I don't, I'm sure it's a lot better now. I think they switched to a different company, but I think like allowing the numbers, I think sometimes with the teams too, it's like, hey, not only seeing the numbers, but definitely living if like, hey, we're noticing this, and not, I think to your point on the men's side, sometimes it's like, oh yeah, but we can just push through.
Yeah.
And we can do a little bit more.
Yeah. Like, this is your limit. Let's burst the limit. And that's how you get better, right? Like, that's a lot of the mentality that, growing up, I kind of saw some of that. That's the old Rocky style, right? Like, sometimes you look at Rocky 4 and you're like, you know what? Ivan Drago, they did have a point. Like, he was with the machines and all the thing. Rocky on the other side, he's going to have some arthritis later on because, there's not measuring how many times he's carrying the log or his family on the water pails. But yeah,
can I ask you guys about what you saw Saturday night at the Wave? Because as I told you, sometimes I was up at the very top row, so I'm seeing like little tiny ants on the pitch. So a 3-2 game. This was one of probably the most high scoring games Wave has played.
it was one of the most exciting.
At least the first half.
Well,
The first half was very exciting. I think the second half kind of died down a little bit. Especially, you added 8 minutes in the first half as well. But you're pressuring and you're knocking on the door, and essentially you get scored on. And that's what Tony asked Casey, right? Like, you're kind of playing pretty good, and then you get scored on, but your team kind of reacts to it very well and then turns it around and takes the lead. But I don't know. You're shaking your head.
I'm shaking my head just because, again, I can't say what I really feel in a sense.
Why not?
Say it.
Hear this again. The goals in this league that happen like this, there's usually a goal that ends up with so many bounces inside of the small box.
That's like the patented, and I'm not saying this just because, but it's like that's a patented Corey Herzog goal.
True. Yeah. 100%.
Like just the trash in front of the net, poke it in.
Exactly. Right place, right time. But again, it seems to be just a threat throughout the NWSL where if there's chaos in the box from a set piece, a cross, or anything that's any type of pinball action in the box, it's usually going to end up eventually as a goal. And that's exactly what this was, where, Wave was on top. They were pressuring. They had the game plan going. Amira Ali was rocking and rolling. She was warming up. And then you get a bucket of cold water here in the 18th minute, right? And that's what the resilience team does, is come back. They are not fazed by it. They have a set piece of their own. But obviously the first goal was just a creation of an error, an unforced error. Forced to a degree because you shot it, but that should never have happened where it's a goalkeeper's nightmare. I felt so bad for her. Like, I really felt bad for the Chicago goalkeeper on that one. But again, it's also that type of, fluky play at times where that chance should have never happened, but Amir Ali was there and was able to capitalize on it. So that's what you put those players there to do. And the fact that Ali got herself a goal after having a really good preseason, the last game she scored 2, she comes in and gets herself one and ties the game up. That's exactly what you pay these players to do. Like, to do what they are supposed to do the job, not miss an open shot like Conway did. I know you've seen this. The Argentinian dude that's like, esos jugadores tienen su camioneta del año, le pagan, o sea, So it's essentially a guy that's like complaining.
Viven en un country. Tienen los el balón al bolígrafo en 8.0. It's just this guy going around saying like they live in luxury homes. They have the most expensive cleats. They have the ball with the perfect air pressure.
It's perfect.
Put YouTube, viven en un country. Así no vas a poner. Viven en un country.
Oh, look at that.
Bro, I'm telling you.
Let's see. This is passion.
It's
this is real passion.
Yeah.
Andan en BMW para arriba.
They got
They're not
Los fines de semana
BMWs.
se
everywhere.
cogen a las mejores minas.
They got the best girls.
Morfan bien todos los días.
They eat well every
El
single
día
day.
anterior al
The day
partido
before,
durmieron
they slept
tranquilamente en una
calmly
estrellas
in a five-star hotel.
Verga. Durante 24 horas y están jugando al ping-pong y al pool. Y
And then 24 hours before, they're doing nothing but scratching their nuts and playing ping pong.
juegan al fútbol todos los días de su vida.
They play soccer
Los
every day of their life.
$6,000,
They make
$5,000,
all
no sé
these
cuánto salen.
much of
Ponele
money.
3,000 mangos,
How much does
4,000
the
mangos. Están
cleats cost?
vendados por un
$3,000.
kinesiólogo.
The kinesiologist, the most professional dude, is there wrapping their ankles so perfectly.
Not wrong.
Están bien
Not
comidos,
wrong.
están bien entrenados. Las medias que son las que no te cortan la
The
circulación.
socks that are the ones that don't cut your circulation.
Fuck, keep going.
That's fantastic. But I mean,
Yeah.
to your point, like seeing Amira score and carry over the preseason,
Yeah.
seeing Jaden a threat from outside the box, which I think in this league is such a massive threat. To have somebody
yes.
that can be a threat from outside the box, and just seeing this ping pong.
Right here, pause it. I said, this is a goal.
Yeah.
She got the she had
So
the
that was
shot, and I said,
Kaylee Reel headed that, right?
and I said, this is a goal.
And so this is almost like you said ping pong there, and I was like, well, that's not ping pong because that's actually how it was drawn up.
Yeah.
That's exactly how they were supposed to do it. And I was actually going to ask that question as far as like tactically speaking,
Yeah.
like what made you put Jaden Shaw there? Has she been showing you this? She's probably going to score another goal like this, so I'm going to bank that question for
yeah.
Casey.
I was like, hey, it's the second time we see her score like this. But yeah, no, and I asked Casey, right? Like, you have your starting front three scoring the same goal. You hardly see that. Like, what can you tell us about the damage that they're going to cause in this league, right? And then she elaborates and saying, like, that's what they wanted this season. They just don't want Alex Morgan scoring goals. They want a long list of players with high amount of goals, which is essentially, I could see that happening.
Yeah. Sorry, that didn't even go off reel. That went off the Red Star. Sorry, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, Tony, she drew. Good thing you didn't ask
No,
that question.
no.
But you're right.
That's exactly
You're right.
what that's supposed to
yeah,
be.
exactly.
The way she drops off this, you're going like,
Yeah.
yes, they want to make sure that she could get the ball and shoot around all the.
Yeah, so right here, obviously there's going to be a clearance if you put it right in the middle because nobody's going to want to swing that leg and clear it because then you're going to hit somebody, boom, penalty, right? So it has to be something like this. You already see everybody tracking back to not be in the offsides. There's a lot of space
But you
there.
place Jaden Shaw there for the same reason, right? If there's a clearance, it'll most likely not be a clearance all the way to the midfield or a high clearance, right? Just a base of how you're crossing the ball. I mean, every time you're about to cross the ball, you raise your hands and you have your player saying, I'm going to try to place the ball in this little area right here. And then Jaden Shaw steps in that area and says, okay, if there's a clearance, the ball's most likely going to get to me here. And that's what happened. And she takes the shot and she's like, what, 8 out of 10 times she's going to score that.
So far, yeah. I mean, her goal to time to age to everything ratio is just off the charts.
She's still, what, 17?
18 now.
18?
This team is just so young, though. And like you have the experience with Morgan and all that.
It's a
but
mix of
this-
very young players and veterans, which
Yeah.
is like it's a championship team. If everyone can stay healthy, and if you manage, like when you have players leaving on international duty and you manage to win some of those games as well, it's a very, very fun team to watch, right?
Korniak came in violent, by the way.
She did. She said, "You're not going to start me."
Which I've heard people have been, right, you stereotype her because of her size, but I've heard a lot of people say, I want her to be even more physical.
Yeah.
Which has to be hard because, you know, when you're that much bigger than your competition, I feel like from a referee standpoint.
You're going to call fouls.
Yeah, like and I've seen this, you know, with Loyal when it was like Charlie Adams going up against Kevon Lambert. And it's like Charlie would just kind of like fly when Lambert hit him because, like, right, the referee is going to notice and call it. But I would agree. I think the only other thing to your point, though, is I love that I'm seeing this from the youth, but I think it's really going to get tested when you have those international players leave and you don't have Korniak, you don't have Alex Morgan, and who's going to be that person on Wave, you think, to occupy those roles, to allow somebody like Jaden Shaw to still operate in the way she's operating in. So, like, who is going to be that person on Wave that either didn't get in this game or is in the game that's going to be around, that's going to get that? Because, right, Sophia Jakobsen is going to be gone.
You're going to depend a lot on Amira Lee, right? But, I mean, how many minutes will you get out of her? I mean, she put, 60 to 70 minutes, which is more than what she was putting any game last season. She was getting in as a game changer in the second half for, like, the last 10 minutes. So the fact that she could put that shift now gives Casey Stoney a lot more options, which for her is amazing. But then you get to the point where eventually Jaden Shaw is going to get called up. Eventually, if Amira Lee keeps playing like this, she's also going to get called up. So hopefully you don't lose a lot of your star players, but it could happen. And that's just the curse of having a lot of talent in your team.
That, and then the FIFA just not having any consideration for the regular season schedule, or NWSL not making the adjustments appropriate to, maybe go
like
around it a little bit.
International break or something like that, where...
Yeah, I mean, like, this is all revving up for eventually a month away from the teams that's in the middle of the season with the Women's World Cup coming up. Like,
I mean, the whole world went on pause last World Cup for the men, so maybe trying something like that as well, league-wise, but...
That would never happen, unfortunately. Right now, at least.
Yeah.
Like, right now, it's just, that would never happen. There's not enough thought and consideration into the women's sport. It just isn't. That's the reality of it.
But yeah, other than that, the game, I mean, they managed to win the game. It was a huge win. You get, as Tony likes to call her Penalex, with the game
Penalex,
penalty.
bro, yeah.
I mean, were you guys surprised? I feel like Alex Morgan has just made a living now, especially in her Wave career, to just like get a penalty and for have that to be a deciding factor.
She's just so good at it.
Yeah,
and
that's the thing too. Like, she is actually legitimately good
important
at
having
it.
a player that is so calm and can be great on penalties, because there's been teams where
against her national team teammate.
freaking Loyal was
What a storyline, right there.
I mean, yeah.
What's up?
Like, you have Loyal, who just couldn't score any penalties. Guido would miss every penalty. Like,
I feel like for a while
penalties.
there was like this story too with Loyal that the first 2 years I feel like we got like
no
one
penalties.
or two.
Yeah, they got no, and then they got penalties and they would miss him. And the only one that would make him was Charlie Adams. But for Wave, Alex Moore, has she missed one? I don't.
No.
She hasn't missed one, right? With
She has
Wave?
not.
Yeah, I'm not on that. And then you have Killian Sheridan on the other side, who almost stops it as well. Gets almost a hand on it.
I have a photo of this from the other side, and I don't know how she missed it. It had. I feel like she even got fingertips on it, but again, just goes to show you on just the instincts to know where people are going, and I think too the confidence that she has, where like the fan base now goes, she's gonna stop this penalty.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I have to make sure I'm in a great spot because I feel like I know she's gonna stop this.
Yeah. No, we were talking about, like, no, this is probably going to be, this is her in her mind. This is the same side that I stopped that against LA. This is the same side. I've stopped multiple penalties the last time. I am Kaylin Sheridan. I should be not disrespect with the 85 rating on FIFA. This is, I've studied this. That just doesn't make sense. Like, how is your best player in the world just capped at 85 in that position, or just one, two? It's dumb.
Yep.
But like already here, like her little mind games, Sheridan's playing.
But then
I'm
you're also
at the
facing
line.
Mallory Swanson, who's a baller as well.
Pretty good too. But again, all right. Now I step up.
Pretty
She's
good.
All right.
Almost 40 international goals. She's pretty good.
She's all right. Never scored against me. No.
Wow.
What? I mean, well, I'll leave Shannon alone.
Okay.
But yeah, she stays on her line, and yeah, she
even you could tell right in Kaylin's face. She's like, oh, I had that.
And we discussed it on yesterday as well. It's just, it had a little bit more power than Alex's penalty. Alex's was just placed perfectly, but this one just had a little bit more power. It was curving to that little corner, but man, like, you still see her standing behind the line.
Yeah, still standing behind the line, and then this little last hop, she already knows where she's going. She's decided. She knows exactly where she's going. And if you compare that to the Alex Morgan penalty on that same angle, right? Let me. Where is it?
Is there like right over here?
You were on there.
Yeah, you were there. You're usually pretty good at this.
Yeah, I usually am. And it's the replay. That's why.
I don't know. I mean, he was right.
Yeah.
All right. Oh no. So right here, right? If we compare that same moment,
She takes a step out of.
She takes a step on the other side because one of two things: either she still doesn't know where she's going to go, she's just going to guess, and or she wants that extra step to give her another boost to just launch herself onto that side.
At this point, you gave her too much space.
Yeah, and yeah, you already fucked up because then you should have taken another step by then.
I was gonna say it was almost like a stutter step, whereas Kaylin's was more of like a step to launch.
Yes,
push off. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Like she taps her foot like 3 times, going to her left. Yeah, to come back is way too much.
Yeah, and so at that point, you don't have that power on that right leg because you already jumped.
I mean, it's already almost off the ground already.
So essentially, you're just kind of falling to your side instead of boom launching yourself. Because and even then,
it's the good
I don't think she would have gotten it.
If Alex doesn't place it perfectly, then she does stop it. But it was just placed at the right corner where it was just unfortunately unfortunately went in. But
yeah. And Alex also knows is looking directly at where she's going to go. The it's just not knowing where you're going to go ahead and shoot, deciding the last second, and I mean that's kind of what you
Alex
get there.
Morgan, she lives for this. She lives 32,000 fans. Last minute penalty to win the home opener. It's 4-goal Alex all over again. He's the hero, Alex Morgan, and it's just perfectly to write on the headlines, which we kind of didn't see from local media, but overall, it was a great game.
Fernando Tatis Jr. lives in the same city as NWSL winner of their home opener, Alex Morgan. I see Sofia Jakobsson just tearing people up too.
Yeah, I think you guys make a great point, though. Especially on the media side, it's going to take both Loyal and Wave winning a championship. And even then, I still think they're going to fight, right? The Padres can get all the headlines for, what kind of new food's going to be at a Padres game? What's going to, the bobbleheads I saw were shown the other day. And it's kudos to them, right? They've been in the city, obviously, the longest of the 3 and have, they can put a fart into the wind and get people to smell it. And that's I think the frustrating part for the soccer community here is just oh gosh, we're hoping for a footprint on the front page of San.Diego Union Tribune, or just a general 1 minute recap in the nightly news, or hey, can you get as excited about San Diego State, as you do Wave, vice versa, whatever, because again, love that San Diego State has made the Final Four, freaking massive.
Yep.
But essentially, Wave did that in their first year, got to the Final Four, and typically you would see local news travel to a game of that magnitude, and that obviously isn't. Yeah, that doesn't have the resources maybe to justify yet, but that's where I hope. Sorry, that's my soapbox.
One day.
The only other thing that I want to mention too is San Diego Soccer's, I believe, 20-2.
Yeah.
On the season?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Clinch first place already.
Clinch, yeah.
Nothing to play for in the regular
shield.
season.
Have home field advantage through the playoffs. I just want to compel, because I started coming to these games last year and then was just shooting for fun during their last playoffs run last year in the championship. And the games they play too against Empire, my goodness, this is indoor soccer at its finest in terms of excitement level, in terms of the range of emotions. But I truly hope that people come out to support this team. That I think they're doing an amazing job getting youth out to these games. I was telling Jerry, I said, whoever's doing your youth outreach, I'm not trying to steal them from Soccers, but they need to be working at higher levels, because they're they're doing incredible work. And I love, I know Justice, who does video, right? Or Justin, sorry. I say Justice, and I feel like people are like, who? And Justin, the guy that does video for Soccers, was there. So obviously got some great stuff, which you're showing. But I really hope people come out to the playoffs here, because having even, 5,000 fans in Pechanga for this would be incredible.
And the fan base that's already there is literally like, it's distracting to the opposite teams. Like it's a factor. You're on them. And selfishly, and I mentioned this, like, I'm very romantic about San.Diego and just old little things. This is the last time you're going to see the San Diego Soccers in San Diego proper, some would say. The last time you're going to see them at Pechanga Arena, at the sports arena. Like, that building is it's had it all. And I mention it every Spanish broadcast.
You do.
I do. That this is the place that's seen Metallica play. This is the place that has seen Bad Bunny play, Maná play, Santana. You've had legends perform here.
Taylor
Edge
Swift
versus Undertaker and a ECW one night stand. Like, Undertaker lost his career to Edge there. Jeff Hardy versus Umaga in the same halls that I walked to go get my pasta for food between matches. This is where they were fighting in that street match. I mean, there's so much history here for the Soccers as well that it's a very special place in San Diego. And I think if you are about San Diego in general, you would go support here and
get a playoff ticket.
Go to
They're
it.
going for a 3-peat.
Yes.
Like, get a playoff ticket.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. And I want a ring.
Imagine Pechanga Arena sold out for a championship game. Imagine the atmosphere that it'll create.
I mean, I think they announced 1,800 or something. And I think what I give credit to San Diego Soccers, they report the number that's
Actual numbers?
actually
Actual
in the
numbers
building.
there? Yeah, 100%.
Actually in the building. I think it sometimes is used against them, but I do appreciate, because they're an anomaly in sports for only announcing the people that come through the gates. But you're right. The diehard Soccers fan, the people that are there, that crew of fans that are right next to the opponent's bench that just wreak havoc on every timeout. Like, they have to move the huddle to the end.
Yeah.
Right. Because they cannot even hear, the supporters that are there. Shout out Angie again. Like, they bring it. So, if you want to spend, you could probably bring 4 people for what, $40, I'm
100%.
guessing.
If you really want to take people, let us know. We will get you tickets. Así de pelada. That's how easy it is.
Yeah,
like,
100%.
we will get you in that building if you really want to go. 100%.
Yeah. Playoff tickets are on sale.
Yes, they are.
I know you can go to SanDiegoSoccers.com to get them. Or I know, like, Jerry Jimenez, if you're a local, I know is doing a special kind of ticket that you can get through Discord, I believe. But yeah, obviously you guys have connections, Craig Elstein. But yeah, like, I think this is money well spent. Everybody that I see that come to these games are like legit into the game.
Yeah,
like
for
every
sure.
aspect of the game. And I think that is unique about a sporting event, where you feel connected to it from the start. And every time I go out there, I tell Craig, I'm like, this is just so much fun. I love being here, and it's a good crew of people. So yeah, look at that. $10 GA tickets and free parking March 30th.
Working in competition in a way with the Padres that are starting, because there's everything starting in San Diego again. You got soccer, but you also have
Baseball.
probably the best roster in San Diego Padres history starting up here.
Sorry, this just reminded me that I worked Thursday night seeing this. I'm not going to lie. Oh my God. Thank God we did this.
Hell yeah. Well, there we go. Thursday night, March 30th, 7:35. That's your team.
Yeah, Milwaukee Wave.
That's you.
Victor Noguera, Michael King, Pat White, I believe. Like, I went to Milwaukee Wave camps as a kid. I had the T-shirt. I was so mad my mom got rid of it probably a couple years ago, but it was so long on me that I could wear it even when I was growing up.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, like, it's cool to see. I haven't actually been to a Wave game where they played in San Diego, so this will be fun.
There you go. Check that out. We'll be on commentary on Saturday, April 1st. Unfortunately, WrestleMania Day.
And Wave home game as well.
WrestleMania Day.
This guy's hurt.
Yeah,
guy's hurt.
they
Especially
could
good
have
at
What is
respect-
night one? That's not. They're not doing Reigns and Cody on night
No,
one.
Rain. It's gonna be Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley for the women's title. You have you can just clock out if you want. It's gonna be the storyline of WrestleMania, San.Diego storyline, Dominic Mysterio, and his versus Rey Mysterio. The storyline here, let me fill you in.
I saw him yelling at his mom.
He yelled at his mom for months. Dominic's been like the rebel. He's like, fight me, dad. Fight me, dad. He went to the Christmas party, family dinner, and he got arrested by Chula Vista PD. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. He beat up Ray in his own home. He's injured, and Ray's just like, no, I'm not going to fight my son. No, you're mijo. I can't do that.
He beat his ass the other day, right?
He can't did it. But he yelled at his mom, and Ray came back and you know,
If you
laid
know
it
something about
down.
Mexican households,
yeah, that's actually how it's going
that's
to be
usually
played.
pretty chill. But
Yeah.
you yell at your mom,
Yeah.
your dad's gonna beat your ass.
100%. So
The
that's
one time my dad has beat my ass as a kid, I told my mom, "Tu cállate." I
Yeah.
mean, shut up, mom. And my dad beat my ass as a kid.
Bill Burr has a story where he's like, yeah, no, like we were just sitting, and then my little brother was like, oh, I don't want this food. It's like, okay, you're gonna eat it tomorrow. So for breakfast, they start. Everybody has waffles, and the little brother has the leftovers from yesterday, just a $2 steak. It's like, I want waffles. He's like, well, you're gonna eat this. Oh, but then can I have a waffle? He's like, no. So he's like, oh, I hate you, mom. And then his dad, without even looking up and reading his newspaper, gets the water and just throws it in his face. That is
exciting. You're gonna miss that.
Exactly what it is. Yeah.
Shit, sorry.
No, but there's night two. It's just Cody Rhodes versus
Hey man, you're getting paid.
Roman
now.
Reigns.
Making money.
Yeah, 100%. Very appreciative of that. Seth Rollins versus Logan Paul. Logan Paul. You know Logan Paul. I'm trying to relate it to you. Like Logan Paul. It's just you know Logan Paul.
Bad Bunny fighting.
Bad Bunny was actually in the commercial for WWE 2K23 along with Triple H in a private plane. So
Dope.
I would say it oddly doesn't seem to have the Hollywood allure for being in Hollywood.
being in Hollywood, yeah.
Year, like last year seemed to have what you would think would apply to this year, but unless they have some tricks up their sleeve, which I would assume they would.
I hope so. I hope so. There's tag team matches, but again, it's a lot of wrestling.
The Rock has to me, my prediction is because The Rock, is not involved at all.
Yeah.
Miz is hosting.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling Rock is going to get involved in the Reigns and Rhodes.
Yeah, because Brock was also involved at the last time The Miz was, when The Rock was the host, that's when The Miz beat John Cena at WrestleMania to retain the title. So there's a little, there's a little thread there as well. So it'll be interesting to see. I know you're going to watch WrestleMania because you have Peacock. It's on Peacock. Here we are. It's just,
Bro, you have Peacock too.
thank
because
you.
of me.
Appreciate you 100%. I will, I used to read about these, bro.
No,
I used to
believe
not
you.
watch. Raw was on cable. I've never had cable in my life. I used to live in TJ. So then I'd have to put the fork into the antenna to get UPN before Thursday night SmackDown. And then I would get that because I would be allowed to stay up until 10 because I have to get up at 5 to cross the border every day to come to school. But that was my night, Thursday night. And I'm telling you, man, the Iron Man match between Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar, when the ring imploded, Eddie feeding the Big Show a burrito and the Big Show going to take a dump for 20 minutes, and that being the greatest thing ever. This is, and then for pay-per-views, it's pay-per-view. That shit doesn't exist in Mexico. So then I'd have to go on WWE.com
you have
and
Sky.
read
the
results.
I used to read the results too.
And what? Rey Mysterio won the title?
Yeah.
John Cena did too?
It was before Twitter too.
Yeah.
So you live for these. I used to go on it was like a wrestling blog too, and I'd be like refreshing, dial up internet, just being like, oh, please, like what happened in the next match? What happened in the next match?
And then in the actual show, the next day, because Raw happens the day after, you wouldn't see any footage. You'd get stills, just pictures of what happened, and you just put it in your mind together. And now they show they give matches for WrestleMania the next day. They put them on their YouTube channel. I'm like, where was this?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, you have it now, so
I have it now. But gentlemen, I mean, another successful episode of San.Diego Futbol Weekly.
of course.
I don't think there's much on the bone, at least for MLS today. We don't know. You might have conversations with somebody else who has additional news to break.
Yeah, unless we have that, we won't mention MLS. Guys, don't worry.
I mean, we can.
We
I mean,
can.
that's the thing. Like, it's an ongoing conversation that nobody is having. So, I like this being not live.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of curious what people would say, like, with the
Ooh.
shit that
maybe
we
one
say.
day. Maybe one day.
Like,
we'll
I'm
go
really
live.
curious.
You know, I was talking to Jesse Beltran, and he actually said, he goes, I wonder why you guys don't do it live, because he said, I feel with what you guys are talking about, a lot of people would be, you know, live chatting or commenting or whatever. And I do think maybe, you know, eventually if we you know, I know we're still kind of like working through how we want to go through this. and
There's
talk about
music. There's assets that are coming in, and we're gonna put everything together, San.Diego Futbol and stuff, to go along with it. But no, I think if you're down,
Yeah.
hell yeah. All right.
All right.
Let's open that box.
San Diego Futbol Weekly
Live.
going live soon.
Absolutely.
Like that.
Hell yeah.
We did have someone ask like, "Oh, what time tomorrow?" I said, "Oh, we'll be out Wednesday."
Oh boy.
Yeah. So people want it. Let's give the people what they want.
I like that. All right, let's do that. Hell yeah.
All right.
Cool. We'll just end this team.
Team.
All right.